The Saints franchise Season 3 preseason has now begun. With a new quarterback, new weapons, and new faces on the offensive line, it's time to figure things out. The number one wide receiver is guaranteed. That's going to be DeAndre Hopkins, and he's getting acclimated to the role. But some of the things that we need to worry about are the offensive line itself. Max Unger was moved to right tackle to try to prolong his career. Unfortunately, though, he just didn't really play all that well. At center, David Krenzel is obviously going to be the starter. He has earned it, and he was just phenomenal in college. And we feel like he's the best option moving forward, as Max Unger had really been struggling anyway at center. At right guard, we have Corey Stuvance. And at left guard, we're going to try out Trayvon Kraft instead of Hugh Thornton, because Kraft really, we picked him up. And he impressed during practice, he impressed during his time with the team on the practice squad, and then obviously on the active roster. And Hugh Thornton really wasn't anywhere above replacement level. Teron Armstead is steady at left tackle. And Stuvance, like I said, is steady at right guard. So really the two main positions that we had to look at were left guard and right tackle. And despite the fact that Max Unger played right tackle throughout the entire preseason, we're going to get to what we did with him later, but it was not reassuring. Tight end was another position that we needed to at least worry about. We didn't really have any stability there. It was a revolving door last season. So we brought in some other guys to compete. We brought in Naquan Oliver, who was a 6th round pick, and he's going to compete with DeMarcus Edens, Craig Stevens, and of course Josh Hill. Josh Hill was the starter for last year, and Craig Stevens was good, but he's really shown signs of aging this season. He just doesn't look like the same player that he was last season as that dynamic run blocker that helped propel Rakeem Blackmon to his Rookie of the Year status. So with that being said, he already didn't offer anything in the passing game, and if his run blocking skills are declining, that's cause for concern. Now, Josh Hill's not a bad run blocker, but he's nowhere near as good as Craig Stevens was. Nor was he really a good enough receiver to warrant making him the number one tight end moving forward if we can get better production out of someone on roster. The two players that we're looking at are DeMarcus Edens and Naquan Oliver. And while Oliver is a rookie, I don't think we're going to put him on the practice squad. I think we're going to keep him on the active roster and see what he can do in some limited action, maybe in 2 tight end sets. And I think we're going to roll with DeMarcus Edens as the starting tight end. He was really good as an undrafted free agent. He had some injury issues, but he looked to be the best receiver that we had at the position. And while I definitely think Naquan Oliver could challenge him for that tight end spot, I don't think that the year difference in experience is enough to warrant putting Naquan Oliver at number 1. I think just the fact that DeMarcus Edens has been in the scheme for a year, knows how things are going, I think that's reason enough to give him a shot to keep him as the starter. Now, the last thing that we really needed to worry about was who was going to be the slot receiver and who was going to be the other wide receiver. It's between Kent Clemens and Michael Thomas, and both of them are starter worthy. And in terms of the actual depth chart, we're going to put Michael Thomas at the slot receiver. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to be playing the slot the entire time. On plays that are 2 wide receiver sets, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Michael Thomas over Kent Clemens. Just because he's a better route runner, he has better hands, and he might not be as explosive, but he's just a better precision player. But when we go to the shotgun or to 3 wide sets, that's when we're going to see all 3 of them on the field. And we're going to have Kent Clemens lining up wide. And definitely we're going to see Kent Clemens on the field in other situations, but I think that's how we're going to go about things. So while Michael Thomas might end up being listed as the 3rd wide receiver, he's going to be treated as a number 2 hybrid. Speaking of players that have solidified roles, we definitely want to keep Mark Ingram, and we're going to have him as our number 2 running back, splitting reps much more balanced this year with Rakeem Blackmon. But there's one thing that needs to be noted. Rakeem Blackmon is not the same player that he was last year. He's a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and the area that he worked on most is his hands. He spent the offseason working with former Saints running back Reggie Bush, and has perfected, well, not perfected, but he has worked both on his hands and his route running the entire off season. He no longer is a detriment in the passing game. On the contrary, he's as big of a threat as anybody we have on roster, not playing wide receiver. He's probably as big of a receiving threat as any of our tight ends are right now. And at running back, that's devastating. So that's something that I'm really happy about. And then we have depth. We have Jaron Brown and Deteriorating Vic, and we're probably going to put Trey Lassiter on the practice squad. But we do have some guys on the practice squad who could have a role later in the season. Florence, JJ Adkins, etc. Just guys who aren't bad, but aren't good enough to be on the active roster anytime soon. In terms of quarterback, we're going to rock with 3. We're not going to be keeping around Garrett Grayson, but we are going to keep Ripkowski as the number 2. And as some depth, we're going to absolutely have Drew Stanton, just because it's good to have 3 quarterbacks on roster. At running back, we're actually going to be rolling with 4. We're going to have Frank Carter sticking around, but the most important new addition is going to be Antoine Whiting. And Whiting, the speedster out of New Mexico State, is going to be our primary kick returner, along with a 7th round draft pick in at corner. I believe his name is DeQuan Short. And Whiting is going to be the primary guy. So he's really fast, and unfortunately, Mark Ingram is going to suffer an injury during this preseason. That's going to take him out of action for at least the first few weeks of the regular season, which means that Antoine Whiting is going to get secondary running back reps to start the season over Frank Carter. He's more dynamic, and he's somebody that I feel like we can really let loose in the screen game and the receiving game that can give Raheem Blackman a little bit of a break. Now, Michael Wong definitely needs to improve a little bit. His accuracy was a little bit shaky in the preseason, but he made a lot of really good decisions, dissected defense as well, and he's going to be a really important factor for this team. Preseason, he was accurate, but he did throw some bad interceptions. Like I said, it's his first preseason in the NFL, nothing to really worry about. Ingram did get a lot of reps, and the fact that he got hurt is probably because of that, unfortunately, but we needed to get him rolling a little bit. Andres Pete is going to be the backup, and we're not going to really do much with him. We do end up cutting Craig Stevens. Sean Arsenault we're going to move to the practice squad at a later date, but he's somebody who, or I guess now, he is somebody that has some value to this team. After him, we have, of course, Hugh Thornton, who we are not going to be keeping around, I don't think. We're going to move Marquise Luke to the practice squad as well, and we're going to keep Sean Coleman. And the other guys, like I said, we're going to cut Hugh Thornton, and I think we move Isaiah Florence to the practice squad. One other big move. We end up cutting Max Unger. Just didn't really work out for us. We're going to sign Sebastian Vollmer, and he's going to end up being our backup right tackle for the season. He might end up getting the starting job, but he needs to get acclimated to the offense, which means that we're going to be starting Sean Coleman at right tackle, Corey Stuvance at guard, Krenzel at center, Kraft at left guard, Armstead at left tackle. It's Hopkins, Thomas, and Kent Clemens at wide receiver. Blackman is going to be the starting running back, obviously. Jamize Alawale at fullback, and Michael Wong is your starting quarterback, with DeMarcus Edens and then Naquan Oliver at tight end. Josh Hill is our 3rd. So Whiting is the backup, Jaron Brown is our 4th, and Deadrian Vick is our 5th wide receiver. Then, I just wanted to show you guys the equipment and overall look and numbers for the offensive rookies. I will show you guys the defensive rookies in the other video, because this is the offensive preview. And I will show you the schedule at the end of this video and our goal. We are going to be aiming for 10 wins this season. We expected only 8 last year. We ended up with 11. I think that this year we can definitely get 10. The schedule is not going to be the easiest thing in the world, but I'm excited. We do face off against the AFC North and the NFC East. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Moonlightswami. Week 1 will be on Wednesday. Peace!